This Day in Sports History. This episode is brought to you by the Sterling Soap Company. I'm a big fan of shave soap. I've been using different brands for years, and I recently gave Sterling's shave soaps a try, and I've been very happy with the results. Sterling's shave soaps give you a great lather and a frictionless feel that allows the razor to glide right over the skin for a super close shave. No skin irritation and a clean, refreshing feel with no soapy residue after. I can tell you without a doubt, it's simply the best shave I've ever had. And my wife has noticed too. And here's the thing. With the ability to purchase 1-ounce sample pucks, you can try out different scents to find the right one for you. Give Sterling Soap a try today. Visit sterlingsoap.com. That's STIRLING soap.com. Hey, and welcome back to This Day in Sports History. It's December 29th, and on this day in different years, it was the last game on the sidelines for two of the all-time great college football coaches. One planned, and the other, not so much. Let's start with what happened on this day in 1978, when Ohio State coach Woody Hayes punched an opposing team's player. If you were an Ohio State fan back in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, then you probably liked Woody Hayes and his old-school teaching style. If you were a fan of another Big Ten school, or a league executive, or a referee, then you probably couldn't stand the son of a, He walked the sidelines and practice field like a drill sergeant, and he berated players, blasted the media any chance he got, and he had no time for anybody who questioned his methods. The 1978 season had not been his best, nowhere close to his national championship winning years of 1954 and 1968. There were rumors swirling from the start of the 78 season that Ohio State was planning to get rid of Hayes and move on from his antics. He'd been involved in several incidents throughout his time in Columbus. He'd punched a reporter back in 1959. He'd shoved a print photographer in 73. And during the most recent Rose Bowl game, Hayes had charged the sideline cameraman who was getting a reaction shot of Hayes after a Buckeye turnover. Ohio State AD Hugh Hindman supposedly put Hayes on probation before the season started. In early November, there was a poll done around the Columbus area, and 56% of those surveyed said Hayes should go. He did not accept those results.
You know something, those 56% probably weren't even living when I started winning here. No, I'm not too interested. It's more what I want to do. No, I'm not going to worry about that. Sure, people are fickle, and I don't much care. There's been nobody around in this league or any other league that's won as many games as I have, and I'm not going to let their opinion decide the thing. And if you're one of that 56%, I don't give a damn about you either. Good day.
The Buckeyes reeled off 5 straight wins, but then lost to Michigan in the final regular season game. The number 20 Buckeyes settled for a Gator Bowl appearance against 7th-ranked Clemson. Late in the fourth quarter, the Tigers held a 2-point lead, but the Buckeyes had the football at the Clemson 25. They were in field goal range, but there were still 2.5 minutes to play. A few more yards, maybe take a shot at the end zone if it was there, but definitely take care of the football and kick the field goal. And then this happened. Here's Keith Jackson with the call for ABC that day.
24-yard line, 3rd down, 5. Schlichter looks at Donnelly. Throws it short, it's intercepted. Charlie Bauman, the middle guard, intercepted it. Schlichter looked into the middle of the short man, and he threw it right in Bauman's hands. The first turnover by Ohio State. And we got a big fight going on. The officials buried in the middle. Now we get some more breaking out, so we've got a free-for-all going on down on the field with a dozen or so people involved in it. Schlichter threw the ball right smack into Bauman's hands, and I don't know what it was that triggered the fight.
So ABC did not focus on the punch that Hayes delivered to Charlie Bauman, the man who picked off Art Schlichter's pass. And whether Keith Jackson missed it live or he was trying to protect Hayes a little bit is up for debate. Jackson had playfully gifted Hayes a pair of boxing gloves at a Gator Bowl luncheon earlier in the week. ABC only showed one replay of it, and they paused the picture on an obstructed view. Ohio State was penalized 15 yards for unsportsmanlike conduct. It wasn't said, though, if the penalty was on Hayes for the punch or the Buckeyes in general for the fight that ensued. Hayes did not calm down at all, and after the next play, he grabbed an official that got the Buckeyes another 15-yard mark-off. The clock continued to roll, and Clemson won 17-15. Hayes did not go to midfield for the customary post-game handshake with Danny Ford. Instead, he was escorted by security back to the locker room. The next day, video replays of the incident showed a clear punch from Hayes. Hindman requested Hayes' resignation, but he declined to give it. After a consultation with the university's president, Hayes was fired, and he never coached again. On this day in 1982, legendary coach Paul Bear Bryant coached his final game. 2 weeks after announcing his retirement and Ray Perkins as his successor, Bryant was in Memphis, Tennessee, coaching his Alabama Crimson Tide against Illinois in the Liberty Bowl, a far cry from where Bears teams usually found themselves at the end of the season. His decision to retire came after a disappointing 7-4 regular season and 3 straight losses to close out the schedule that pushed Alabama out of the top 25. The folks in Tuscaloosa and Bryant himself expected unbeaten records and national championships.
Well, I felt like that I'm doing a poor job, really, because last couple of years we've gone downhill, in my opinion, and I certainly want our program to go forward. I don't want to be a part of it going down, and while we still have some good football players, well, I want someone else take it over and go forward, because I haven't been doing that with it, really.
Bryant won 6 national titles at Alabama, including back-to-back in 1964 and 65, and again in 78 and 79 to go along with 14 SEC titles. Alabama took the lead in the first quarter of the game, and they never trailed. In the fourth quarter, the Tide only had a 2-point lead, but they were threatening to take a bigger lead deep in Illini territory. Craig "Touchdown" Turner scored the final touchdown for Coach Bear Bryant. Calling the action that night for Metro Sports was Harry Callis and Joe Kapp.
Didn't get in for the touchdown, but got the first down. And they have 4 shots from a half a yard out. Turner, touchdown Alabama. Craig Turner.
The Alabama defense was playing inspired football on this night. Illinois starting quarterback Tony Eason threw 4 picks, and on 3 separate occasions, when Eason was shaken up and he had to leave the game, his backup, Chris Jenner, took 3 snaps and threw 3 interceptions. His final one came when the Illini were driving for a go-ahead touchdown. Here's Harry Callis and Joe Kapp again.
And again, Chris Jenner is going to come in at quarterback on a 2nd down and long.
Alabama's 3 deep zone, safety up.
Jenner throws it right into the arms of the defender. That's Robbie Jones, and Jones has sewed it up for Alabama. 16 seconds on the clock, and Paul Bear Bryant's legendary coaching career is going to end with another W, his 323rd.
Bama won 21-15, but it really was more of a footnote on a coaching career that spanned 38 years. Starting out at Maryland in 1945, then with stops at Kentucky from 1946 through 53, where he led the Wildcats to their first SEC football title, then on to Texas A&M from 1954 through 57, and then winding up at Alabama in 1958. The Liberty Bowl appearance was the 24th consecutive postseason bowl game for Alabama, and the win was the Bears' 323rd of his career, as you heard Harry Callis mention, which made him the all-time winningest coach in college football history at the time. Grambling's Eddie Robinson would eclipse that mark 3 years later. Joe Paterno is now atop the Division I-A list with 409 wins. John Gallardi has the most in all divisions with 489. In the press conference following the game, Bryant was asked what he would do in his retirement, to which he replied, "I'll probably croak in a week." Sadly, those words were hauntingly prophetic, if just a little off in the timing. 28 days later, Bryant suffered a massive heart attack and died. Are you a hockey fan? Then you'll love Eric Zweig's new book, Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2. It's a treasure trove of untold tales, bizarre incidents, and captivating trivia that will leave even the most devoted puckhead astounded. The intense rivalries, epic showdowns, and historic clashes that shaped the NHL's early years, it's all in there. Zweig uncovers the true stories that helped shape the sport, ensuring that you will never look at hockey the same way again. Check out Hockey Hall of Fame True Stories 2 on Amazon or wherever fine books are sold. To the pro game ago now for what happened on this day in 1963. It was the NFL championship between the New York Giants and the Chicago Bears at Wrigley Field. Now, coming into this one, it seemed like an unstoppable force against an immovable object. The Giants had outscored every other team in the league by a bunch. The Bears had been stingy on defense, giving up the least points in the league, and they'd led the league in interceptions that year with 36. Foreshadowing. New York had fallen into a rut in the last 5 years. After being the dominant team of the 1950s, they became the perennial number 2. They played for a championship in 58, 59, 61, and 62, and lost all of them. Behind Y.A. Tittle and Frank Gifford, they were hopeful to break their title drought. Tittle had some issues in this game, though. He took a couple of shots to his knees in the first half that sent him to the locker room a little early to get some Novocaine and cortisone shots to his knees. The Giants led 10-7 at the end of the first half. Well, after his treatment, Tittle felt ready to go back out in the second half. Some of his teammates, though, voiced some concern and thought maybe the team should go in a different direction, but head coach Ali Sherman went with Tittle, and things went off the rails. The temperature in Chicago was 11 degrees, making it hard for anybody to grip the ball, especially Tittle. Down 4 with 1 minute 40 seconds left in the game, the Giants got the ball back, and they had a chance to win it. They drove down to the Bears' 39 with one last shot at the end zone. Calling the action that day for NBC was Chris Schenkel.
Tittle drawing long. Schaffner going way out there as Pettibone is back. And that will probably save the game for the Bears. About 2 seconds to go, ladies and gentlemen, as Tittle was intercepted for the 5th time. This was Richie Pettibone, number 17, who did it.
Once again, the Giants finished second. For the Bears, it was their first NFL title since 1946. And in 2013, 7-time Formula One champion driver Michael Schumacher was severely injured in a skiing accident in Maribel, France. He was in a medically induced coma until the summer of 2014. And since then, he's been in seclusion with his condition a closely guarded secret. His wife, Corinna, issued a statement last year saying that they were doing everything that they could to make Michael better and make sure he is comfortable. Earlier this month, a former nurse who worked in the Schumacher home was arrested on attempted blackmail and extortion charges, claiming she had more than 1,000 images and videos and would release them to the public if she did not receive 15 million euros. A former security guard was also implicated in the extortion plot. The family did release some good news recently, though. Michael and Corinna's daughter announced she was pregnant and expecting a baby girl in April. Time now for today's Nothing to Do with Sports Fun Fact. Here's some friendly advice for the new year. Do not piss off a crow.
What did you say?
Scientists have found that crows remember faces and hold generations-long grudges.
Say what?
The research showed crows don't just recognize humans, but have deeply held opinions about individual people.
What you talking about, Willis?
Hey, this is Steve White, the host of This Day in Sports History. Thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed the episode or you're a fan of the podcast, can I ask you to do me a favor? I made the shortlist for the Best Sports Talk Podcast in 2024. There are some well-known folks in this category, such as the Kelsey brothers, Scott Van Pelt, Bill Rhoden, and I can use all the help that I can get. I put a link in the show notes that will take you to the page, and if you have a moment, click that link and cast your vote for my podcast. I would certainly appreciate it. Thanks to all of those who have voted, and again, thanks for listening. Have a great day. I'll talk to you tomorrow. This has been an original Thrive Suite production.